Hey everyone, it's the interview queen, Alicia Atout here, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to my interview with Taeler Hendrix. Hello.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. I feel like this is such a long time in the making. We are just busy bees doing so much. We were finally here. I'm psyched about it. So I feel like the appropriate question is just how are you doing and how are you holding up over there?
I am so peachy. Thank you for asking. By the way, you look absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Just busy, busy, busy. Honestly, I always feel, I have to be working on something. So I figured now is the time to go after everything I ever wanted to do.
This pandemic really has given people a lot of downtime, but I feel like in some weird way we've been busier than ever. So what are some of the things you actually have been up to as of late? We're definitely going to dive into some specifics. You have some really exciting stuff, but just to name drop a couple.
Well, I gained a really good opportunity, well, two actually last year. They came about sort of towards the latter part of 2019, but I couldn't reveal them until 2020. So I have been loving getting to do my own podcast and being like a podcaster with russosbrand.com, getting to talk something that I love, wrestling, as well as just pretty much trying to be a part of someone else's survival guide and in life in general, and trying to get other people in on really positive but tough conversations. And then another thing I've been totally busy with is getting to be a wrestling writer and reporter for Fightful.com. So I just feel very, very blessed and very, very busy, on top of the fact that I am now publishing books as a published author, which is something I always dreamed of doing. So I think, it just was a matter of asking, why not me? Why not now? Why am I postponing happiness and postponing everything I ever dreamed of when I was a child? Why don't I actually get to do it and doing it so that way I can look back at the little girl that I was and kind of give her a high five and say, I got you, girl.
I love that so much. I kind of think the same whenever I get a big interview or a big opportunity comes through. I'm like, yes, 14-year-old Alicia would be so proud right now.
That's always the best feeling, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it really is. And I mean, of course, pre-pandemic on my show, I used to talk about wrestling so much, but because there's been, in a certain way, just scheduling wise, a huge lack of it for some people, I really just want to use this interview to talk about the other fun things you love, because there are so many different aspects. And I also find there's a really cool commonality that we share with some things. So one thing that you have sparked up is the talk show you have, Talks with Taeler Hendrix. So what kind of made you want to become a host and just tap into that aspect of everything?
What was interesting is as a wrestler, I always wanted to learn from people better than me, people that had more experience than me, whether it was out in the world, in the professional wrestling industry, what have you. So I would always go to seminars and training camps. I would send tapes and promos and links to various different people. One of those people who has been very supportive of me over the last 5 years or so is Vince Russo. And so I was flirting with the idea of starting a podcast, but I had all these questions. How do you do it? What do you need? I am not tech savvy, as you and I recently found out setting up this call. So I was kind of just flirting with the idea. And then he provided an opportunity and I said, you know what? Let's do this. Let's roll with it. And the big inspiration for that was, man, how many questions did I have when growing up, or, going through situations that you are not taught about in school, you're not prepared for, you feel like you don't have the right sort of toolkit to be successful, and all these different things that are just thrown at you. And then you come to this point where you go, what am I doing? What is this thing called life? Where is it going? How can I get off this ride? It's scary. It's crazy. It's never like anything they talked about in school. What do I do? Like, ooh, what do I do with my hands? So I wanted to kind of use the talk show opportunity to kind of help other people with that same sort of passion to be a part of someone else's survival guide. Like, hey, it's okay to fail, because failure is success in progress. It's okay to have self-doubt, but you have to learn to cheer for yourself in the silence and believe in yourself when no one else will. All these different things that you aren't taught in school. And as a former teacher, I would know, even just teaching young children, it really kind of cemented into my brain. I thought, wow, we're doing so much damage because we're taking the life out of childhood dreams at such a young age and kind of telling children what happiness and success looks like, when instead we should be teaching them to define that for themselves. And that was the big inspiration behind Talks with Taeler Hendrix.
I feel like that must have also taken some path or some play, obviously, into these books you've been doing, because it is just so cool, the fact that you not only have one, not two, but there are now three. Very, very soon you'll have a third one coming out for everyone to check out on Amazon. So, I mean, just wearing so many different hats, do you find it sometimes a little bit overwhelming? Is it sometimes a little crazy for you, having just so many passions and thinking, okay, I want to do this, but oh my gosh, now this is coming along. Like, I've been in that boat, and it can just be so hectic, but so amazing at the same time.
It seriously can. If people really want to get into real talk, it is overwhelming, but you have to kind of ground yourself and realize that, yeah, it's going to get overwhelming, but all the things that you dreamed of, all the things that you want to do, they aren't easy. So if you're going to easily give up and easily get overwhelmed, then you have to kind of ask yourself, are you putting your best effort into those dreams, into those goals? You know, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to get overwhelmed. You are an imperfect human being. It's okay. We're all imperfect. And that's what makes us so amazing as individuals. And I think that when we get overwhelmed, we have to just take a step back and remind ourselves that no matter the self-doubt, no matter everybody else's negative talk and noise, you kind of just have to ignore it and go, what I'm doing is not easy. If it was easy, then everybody would attain it. It would be on everyone's resumes. Everybody would be able to say that they did it. Anything easily gained is easily lost. So that's kind of how I choose to look at it as far as mindset when I feel like overwhelmed, wearing so like a Jill of all trades sort of thing, you know. And I think that that's the biggest thing, is accept that it's okay. It is okay to have a bad day. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. Just remind yourself what you're doing is worth it. It's not easy, and not everyone can say that they're on their way to achieving it.
I feel like the best part of it all is, yes, you have these days where it just feels like too much, but then when something actually comes to fruition and you actually have that book published or that interview scored or whatever it might be, you're like, damn, okay, like that was all part of the plan. Like it all worked out. This is the most satisfying feeling ever. But when it does come to the children's book you have coming up, when it comes to writing, so many people take it in different ways. There's movie scripts, songwriting, novels. So what made you really want to go into the world of children's books?
I want to go into the world of everything.
Okay.
And so for me, I just, I never wanted to be boxed in. And I feel like towards the latter part of my career, I realized I was getting boxed in. And I hate that sort of feeling. It's like being a bomb in a birdcage. That's how it feels. And so for me, I don't want to be boxed into one thing. I don't want to just be labeled one thing. I want to be like everything. And so for me, I started with children's books because one particular children's book is actually what made me love reading. And I realized that so many kids hated reading. I hated reading until one particular book that sparked my love of reading. And now as an adult and growing up, I was like, books, 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 books. You talk to some of my longtime friends and they were like, oh yeah, Taylor's a huge nerd. You know, you would see her on a skateboard, or she was this weird goth girl that was in all of the AP classes. She was always reading a book, or, you know, doing like crazy things that when people would look at me, they wouldn't expect, you know. And so I wanted to start with children's books because I felt that all these things that you and I have, I know for a fact, have experienced even without talking about them. There's no way that we were necessarily prepared for those things. And so I feel like if we start inspiring children younger and giving them a sense of pride younger and a sense of fearlessness younger, the world would be such a better place because there would be more people going after their dreams and trying to make the world a better place than how they came into it. And so that's why I wanted to start particularly with children's books and jump from there. And so now that I'm on my third one, which you mentioned, after this one, I'm going to continue with children's books, but I'm also working on my first like psychological thriller horror book that I started in high school. So I'm just, I don't know.
That must be so cool though, having something that you started a while ago actually like becoming a reality. Like I mentioned before, those are some of the best parts. So kudos. That's so cool. You're able to stick with it and now you're seeing it come to life. That's amazing.
Yes, I think that's the best part is, this book that is coming out that I just finished for publishing last night. I started it when I was in TNA. And then my second book, A Fish with a Wishes, Trish, I actually started that in the 6th grade. It started out as a haiku assignment in the 6th grade, and now it's a book that children can read on Amazon. Like, that's
Oh,
crazy.
done.
So I think everything happens for a reason, both good and bad, and you kind of learn from it to be bigger and better. And that's kind of what happened.
I love that. I feel like anyone watching, like that's such an incredible takeaway. You just never know what an idea or something can truly turn into. So, oh, that's just lovely. That makes me happy.
Thank
But
you.
of course, another passion of yours does happen to be acting. We, of course, see that in the ring, your intensity and just your love for that industry. But when it does come to acting in films or movies, is there kind of a dream role you have in mind, a character you'd love to pretend to be? Okay, I see the little head nod going, so I'll let you take that away.
I'm a very, I'm not artistically inclined in the sense that I can draw. My mother is an amazing artist and she actually wrote her own book too. But for me, I'm not artistically inclined in the sense of drawing or necessarily playing a lot of instruments. I can dabble, but for me, acting was one of the arts that it was my first dream. It was my first love. And that first love actually led to wrestling, which was my second love. And all of that led to my other love, which is literature, books. So I feel like they all kind of tied in. So for me, the writing, the athleticism, the acting, it's all almost one for me. So there are so many roles that I've already put out into the universe that I would love to play. I want to be Madam Hydra so badly. I always said that I was, the Madam Hydra of pro wrestling, my gear to my valet look to my promos, like Ophelia Sarkisian all the way. Another dream role would be Rogue, as you can see from my shirt. Yeah. Another role that I would absolutely love is like Morticia Adams. I think I could just nail that so well. I would love to be like my own version of Elvira, which is something I've talked a lot about with like Shelly Martinez and stuff, because we both just have a huge love of the macabre. There's just so many roles out there that I would just want to sink my teeth into at this point in time. Getting to see Elizabeth Olsen play one of my favorite comic book characters, the Scarlet Witch, that's just really inspiring to me, and she is bringing out her own rendition of that to a whole brand new audience through WandaVision. And I just think that's amazing. I want to do something like that too.
I feel like the way things are going for you, you genuinely never know what's going to fall in your lap. So as long as you maintain that positive mentality, you genuinely seem to have. My fingers are crossed for you, girl. They really are.
That's kind of like an ongoing joke with my fans. Like, they called themselves the Taeler Army, so that's what I call them. Asked me 4 years ago, I never would have thought that it would be a thing. I never would have thought that I would have the most amazing fan base that I have, that is just
crazy in like the best way.
I feel like I have the most fierce and the most positive fan base in the entire industry. They are so fiercely loyal, so amazing, and I love getting to interact with as many of them as possible. And whether it's my YouTube channel or my social media, and they're just amazing. And one of the jokes with my fans is that they never know where I'm going to pop up next. Like, what wrestling place or what platform or this, that, the other, YouTube, podcasting, whatever. It's just a big rib. It's always so funny. They're like, where's Taeler Hendrix going to pop up next?
Well, just speaking to those fans, it's amazing. So you can literally send out a good morning and get thousands of likes. And that's something that really does show just how much people care about you and that connection you have. And you're always asking fans random questions and fun questions to interact with them. So the last thing I wanted to do with you is ask 3 of my favorite recent questions you have asked your fans, just to kind of spin things around. We've seen what they all have to say, but you didn't answer your own question. So I'd love to do that on my show. So we'll do this almost as a little speed round with the 3 of them. So the first one being, what is your favorite comedy movie of all time?
Gosh, that's so hard. I don't know if I have one. And that's always the problem with fans. That's why it's in the hot seat. It's like, ooh, you can only pick one. So which one is it? Which one? I don't have one. I like too many. Like, okay, so
you're allowed to name drop a couple.
Okay, The Wrong Missy and the most Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle I have those on replay all the time because I'm very in tune with keeping everything around me positive and genuine. So I always have something positive or fun playing in the background to subconsciously make me laugh or just let it sink in, whether it's music or movies. Let me see, another movie. Yeah, I just love so many. Wayne's World. So huge fan of Wayne's World. Yeah, just there's way too many. Super Bad, Chips, just a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. Too many. Connie and Carla, The Birdcage. No, don't.
It's not so easy to answer your own question, right?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Let's try to find this one out. What is your favorite comic book? And it doesn't have to be a specific volume. It can be a series. I won't just put it down to one issue for you.
Captain America. That is probably one of my all-time favorite characters. I am just obsessed with like the World War II era. I love, even though his comic books, historically speaking, weren't always the most popular after that sort of time. But I just loved that. The aura around it. But if I couldn't pick Captain America, I would say X-Men because I just love the creativity that goes into all the different mutants and their origins and the different universes and crossovers. It's just so exciting, And when I was a little kid, I was so little that I didn't know I was watching X-Men, the animated series, but I knew it as the people with the powers wearing blue and yellow.
Me too. So
I was
because of my same thing. When I was a kid, my dad just immediately threw my sister and I into comic books. So we read every issue of everything. We were watching all the animated series, the films when they eventually came out. So as soon as I saw a while ago that you were into comics, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so dope. I used to go to conventions. Yeah, it's awesome. So I definitely wanted that question of yours to be answered on this show because I was like, ooh, I really wonder what she would narrow it down to. She really seems to know her stuff.
Yes, I love it. I one time did a photo shoot with all of my Gotham City Sirens comics. I've moved around so much for wrestling that I don't have as much stuff as I used to. I very much had that sort of gypsy lifestyle. I moved about 15 times in 5 years at one point. So yeah, it was always boom, 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 get up and go, every 2 years, not even it was just crazy. So I lost a lot of my stuff and a lot of my collections over the years or gave them away, but I had Gotham City Sirens. I had the first appearance of Poison Ivy in Batman comics. I had the first full appearance of Magneto's Evil Mutants. So not their appearance, but their first full appearance in the comics. I just had a lot of really cool stuff. And I don't know, it's just a great escape. Even as an adult, it's just fun.
I could not agree more. And then for the last one, I want to ask best video game of all time.
I have a love-hate relationship with video games because I love them, but they don't love me. I am not with them. I cannot even win at Duck Hunt. But I love video games. I do. It's a really great way to kind of just decompress from, a stressful day or something like that. So I would probably have to say, what game have I... Growing up, we didn't really grow up with video games. So when we finally got a PS1, the PS2 was already out. We didn't have a memory card, so we just played the same levels over and over, hoping we would figure it out. I would have to say one of my all-time favorite video games, just because I had so much fun with it, was Spyro. I think there was 3 or 4 of them. And then there was this really old Tetris that had this little archaeologist guy, and he would walk across your blocks, right? And you had to solve the puzzle so he could get down to the bottom and go into the pyramid or the cave or whatever. And there would be this spike thing that would rotate on the ceiling, and every so often it would drop down. And if the spikes hit your little guy, you would die. But it was a war game, so if you got 2 or more rose, it would send the rose to the person you were playing against, and that would be so competitive. It would be so much fun. And then obviously like Mario Party and all the Mario games, Zelda, that Nintendo racing game was a lot of fun. Arkham Asylum, that one was pretty cool, but that was really difficult. That took me, I'm too embarrassed to admit how long that took me. So
well, I do appreciate you answering your own questions here, but I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, for hopping on here. Like I mentioned, this is something I've wanted to make happen for a while, so I'm just really happy that we are here right now, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everybody who's going to be tuning in.
Absolutely. Thanks again. A massive thank you to Taeler Hendrix for hanging today, and be sure to check out not only all of her upcoming projects, from books to wrestling to acting, all of the above, hosting, podcasting, the list goes on, but also check out aliciatout.com for more exclusive interviews and features. We will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.